Folks, let's take a quick look at the different equipment and ingredients that you will use when making your broths and agar. So to begin with, we have our balance. You should have one there on the bench with you. Each of them is a bit different. This one, the power button's on the side. We'll go ahead and show how that works here, but first we have the weigh boat. This is what you'll actually use to hold your stuff when you're weighing it. As you can see, it has a weight of its own. Obviously, when you're weighing stuff out, you first want to cancel that out. So you push the tare button there. Each of them will have something like that, either tare or 0. And what that does is cancels out the weight of the weigh boat, right? So you're only measuring the stuff that you need. Speaking of stuff that you need, we have here some of the different media. We have this Vegetone infusion broth. We're using this instead of the Brain Heart infusion broth, or BHI, that it talks about in the manual. This is vegetable based, so it's a little bit better for the environment. It is, the ingredients are easier to control, and it's actually cheaper. So win-win-win. All right, and here's some agar. Agar, as you hopefully know by now, is a thickener. It's derived from a seaweed, and basically it's just a powder. Well, we get it in powdered form. You dissolve that in water and boil it, and then as it cools, it sets like Jello or gummies or anything like that. You can vary the concentration to affect how thick it is and how hard it is. We usually use for plates and most of our growth media a 1.5% agar, which we'll talk about what that means. Here we have the spatula, which we use to measure our media into our weigh boat. We have the water that we'll be using. We use distilled water. We'll see the still later. And we're only going to be making up 200 milliliters right now for this, just a demo. So that's what we have measured out here. One thing to note about this is that it does not have to be perfectly precise. All right. Unlike with chemistry and stuff, it's like we're making food, right? We're making food for the bacteria, so it doesn't really matter, just so long as the proportions are close enough. So don't worry about 2 or 3 milliliters here or there, okay? All right, here we have our hot plate / magnetic stirrer. As you can see, it has been lovingly and strongly used, we will say. There are a couple of different models. Some of them have the digital readout here that you can see, and others will not. They just have sort of arbitrary numbers on there, but they both work the same way. You have your vessel, whatever it is. In this case, we're using a flask. This is a 500 milliliter flask, into which you will be putting your media to stir it and heat it. The thing that we use to stir it is this magnetic stir bar. As you can see, it just sort of plops down there. It has a magnet in it, and then the hot plate itself has a magnet inside of it underneath the heating plate. We can turn the magnet by turning on the stirring. And as you can see, it starts to spin. We can vary the speed at which it spins, the RPMs, all the way up to 1150, which, well, yeah, you can see it taking off. The frame rate on the video isn't even enough to keep up with it. But that will mix the media for us, as you will see. Then we have the heat here. We can turn up the heat on this one all the way up to 550 degrees Celsius. You won't need to go that high, but that is just to get it to start boiling. All right, and then the last thing that we'll do is we will cover it with some aluminum foil before we put it in the autoclave, and we'll talk more about that.